everyone, and welcome to a very special NDD live training here, December 2024, last live training session of the year. We're so happy that you could join us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. And we're so excited to finally be able to present as our new product spotlight, the EasyOne Sky spirometer to everyone today. This is something that's been in the works for many years here at NDD, and we're very proud of this product. We're really excited to introduce it to the market. And today we're gonna have a little bit of a hybrid webinar. We're gonna talk about this product. We're gonna talk about who it was developed for. And then also we're gonna talk a little bit about, we're actually gonna see test and have a little bit of a hybrid product training as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So what are you going to learn in this live training webinar today? So we're gonna learn all about NDD's newest spirometer, the EasyOne Sky. We're going to talk about the EasyOne Windows application, EasyOne Mobile. We're going to have a step-by-step walkthrough of that application. We're also going to watch a demonstration of a test with our new spirometry coach, Buddy. So excited to be able to share him with you guys. We're also, if we have time, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks about performing a successful spirometry test. And this is applicable to any spirometer that we have here at NDD. And then at the end, we will have a little bit of an open Q&A time with me. And then I also have a special guest on as well. I have actually our product manager that has helped develop the EasyOne Sky, Aglaia, is also on the line for some questions as well. All right, as always, if you guys have questions at any point during the webinar, feel free to type them into the question bar or the chat section of your toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. Bianca and Joy are both on with me today. They're going to be monitoring both of those areas throughout the webinar, taking care of questions as we go, and then, of course, being able to read some of those out loud at the end of the presentation. All right, so why EasyOne Sky? What did we strive to accomplish with this new product? So the EasyOne Sky was designed to lower the hurdle of high quality spirometry for healthcare providers. This really is targeted at our primary care, our first level of care providers. The EasyOne Sky transforms spirometry testing into a seamless and enjoyable part of patient care. You know, the number one thing we always hear, especially from first tier providers, primary care providers, why aren't you doing spirometry? And the number one reason is always spirometry is too difficult. So that was really the angle that we came at with the EasyOne Sky. We wanted to reduce the complexity and that administrative burden on healthcare providers and allow them to do the test that is going to improve these patient outcome by providing an early diagnosis of lung disease. So how did we do this? So ease of use. We streamlined everything into this Windows application, this mobile application. So less user training. Efficiency, fast, simplified testing. Your spirometry guide, Buddy, here on the left-hand side of your screen, guides the patient through the maneuver with error detection and session grading. A PDF report can be exported from this mobile application. The next point, data security and connectivity. This is a cloud-connected application for unlimited data storage and tests. The customer doesn't need to manage their own database anymore, and it's GDPR and HIPAA compliant. Accurate, up-to-date, providing high-quality data with our proven TrueFlow technology. So let's talk a little bit about the EasyOne mobile application. It's a good time to call out that this product, while it is available now, it is not available worldwide. The initial launch of this product and the accessibility to the EasyOne mobile application on Windows right now is only available in the United States. Now, if you are viewing this outside of the United States, please don't jump off. Throughout 2025, we are going to be introducing this into different countries. And then obviously, you know, our goal is to have this globally available by the end of next year. So again, don't leave us yet if you're outside of the US, because you guys will have access to this product very, very soon. All right, so what does the mobile application do? The app displays what the sensor measures and calculates. It focuses on the essentials, making high quality spirometry collection effortless and stress-free. Now, it is good to note, this is not a replacement for EasyOne Connect. You'll notice when we go through the settings in the mobile app that there aren't as many predicted value sets. There aren't as many system interpretation options. There aren't as many test types available. All of those will come eventually, but again, we're focusing on the essentials. What does a first tier provider, a primary care physician, need to make a diagnosis or to catch that disease early in the primary care situation? And that is simple testing with maybe not all of the bells and whistles. So for the launch, again, only available at launch in the US with Spanish and English as the available language. Again, don't worry if you're outside of the US, it is coming to you guys, but this is just where it's starting. The mobile application is available on the NDD website, just like EasyOne Connect. So when we come out with updates to the mobile application, that would be updated in the same way. All right. I mentioned in our kind of features and benefits that this is a cloud-based system. So what does the NDD cloud do? The NDD cloud stores and transmits data safely and manages the user accounts. That's it. All right. The data is stored and backed up on that cloud database, which is Microsoft Azure. The data does not leave the region, the origin of the cloud. So in this first launch instance, that data does not leave the US cloud. For the customer, guys, this is like a huge deal for those of you guys who have had to manage your databases in the past. So no managing database on the customer sides or data storage locations. You're not worrying about backing up your data to flash drives, hard drive crashes, lost data. You know that it's safe and secure. Azure really is kind of the state-of-the-art security provider, and data is not stored on this local machine. Your data is not going to accidentally walk out of your clinic on this device. Data is uploaded from the EasyOne Sky after every single test via that mobile application. Data can be downloaded from the NDD cloud at any time, and this makes our EMR, EHR connectivity so much easier. We can deploy that connection for a fleet of devices instead of having to set that connection up on each local installation. So much easier, guys, I'm telling you. For the customer, test results can be accessed anytime, anywhere. And again, like I just said, we're not having to configure that EMR connection on each individual installation. It's configured once and distributed by the cloud to a fleet of devices. All right, so a little bit of a product overview. What comes in your package? The EasyOne Sky sensor, and then we have our EasyOne mobile application. You'll notice here that there is a Bluetooth dongle. Some of you might ask, well, my computer has a Bluetooth plug-in. Most computers do these days. Why do I need the Bluetooth dongle? There's several reasons, but first of all, again, not all computers have built-in Bluetooth capabilities. And even if they do have Bluetooth capabilities built in, it might not necessarily meet the specification. So the range, the actual distance from the computer to the device, the data transfer speed, security standards, etc., to make this a secure connection. We also want to make sure that some built-in modules have some interference. We want to make sure that it's a stable connection, and the dongle does provide that. And also, security. Of course, that's going to be the utmost concern. We want to make sure that that is encrypted data that is transferring from the device via that dongle to the mobile application. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and test. I think I have Buddy showing up there. There he is. All right, and you guys are going to have to forgive me just a little bit. My movie magic's a little bit off. The screen share is acting a little bit strange, so I am sharing my entire screen and not kind of able to toggle as gracefully between applications. So let me just hop over to the EasyOne mobile app. Once you first install the app, we will be setting up your organization on our side so that your organization is grouped. That involves setting up individual user accounts and having those grouped on our side with our cloud providers as an organization. We're not going to go through setting up an account and all of that right at this moment, but I have already set up my account. And when you launch the application and log in, you're brought to this activities page, which kind of serves as the home page for the EasyOne mobile app. On this screen right now, it says that I have no pending activities. This is where when you have that direct EMR connection, orders from the EMR will appear here as pending activities for you to complete. All right, you can see that you can search for a patient. If you've got, 79 spirometry tests to do and your page is full, you can search by patient name here. But again, the activity page is for those orders coming over from the EMR. Just a quick tour through this Windows app. Starting over on the far right side, you'll see that I am logged in as a healthcare provider. Next to that, you'll see that I am online and connected to the cloud. Just as a side note, you can still test when you are not connected to the internet. Obviously, you wouldn't receive orders from your EMR if that connection is active. And obviously the next time you would connect to Wi-Fi, orders would come through, results would be sent back. If you're not using an EMR connection, of course you can test offline. Just the next time you connect to Wi-Fi and to the cloud, then those results would be uploaded. All right. The next tab over shows that my device is turned on and connected and paired successfully via that Bluetooth dongle. All right. So starting here in the settings tab, the first set of settings we're going to look at is for spirometry. So looking at our default test type, again, there is limited testing in this because, again, we're looking at that primary care market. What would they get the most benefit out of? So the two different test types are the FVC and the FVL. You also can do pre and post bronchodilator testing, just so that you guys know. You can choose, are you using a filter or are you not? For the predicted sets, again, we only have 3 options available, but again, some of the most popular ones, especially here in the States where we're launching initially. Same thing for system interpretation. Right now, 2 options available, but the most popular here in the States. And then the incentive. The default is to have the incentive check. You can select to show traditional graphs and curves, but again, we want to, since we're targeting primary care, we want to let Buddy really kind of do the coaching for us during the actual test. So choosing to show the incentive is how we get Buddy on the screen. All right, scrolling down, looking at the system settings, this is where we can look at our device serial number. We can choose our units of measurement, our time and date format, looking at our profile. Once we've created our own profile, we can come in, adjust our username, our role, change our password, change our PIN, and log out of the system. Last but not least, on the settings is the information. It has the build information, technical support, contact information, some licenses, and then also the digital operator's manual. All right, the next tab over is the service tab where we can perform a calibration check, a self-check, which if you're familiar with our devices, the self-check is taking the place of when we used to set the baseline, when we would have to plug either side of the device for that ultrasound sensor to set to baseline. We don't have to do that anymore before every single test, but you can come back in and periodically check baseline if you need to. All right. All right, last but not least, we have our patients tab. Again, once your app is full of patients, you do have the search bar here in the middle. And I apologize, guys, my earbud is like not wanting to stay in my ear today. So we have where we can search for patients that are already entered into the system. You'll see that there will be a list populated here. And then over here on the right-hand side, we have where we can add a new patient. Again, if you're directly connected to your EMR system, all of that information is going to be pulled from the EMR. So when we're adding patients, this is for customers that are using the device without that fully integrated EMR. But we're going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and add a patient. It's going to tell me that I already have a patient similar to this entered, but I'm going to go ahead and enter my information here. On date of birth, we're going to go back and enter the year first. Wrong direction. Then we're going to enter the month. Then we're going to enter the date. Ethnicity. We still want to select that or put other. Just even if you do have that race neutral GLI, the Bowerman selected, we still have to have something entered here. Weight, sex at birth, and then height. in the units of measurements that you specified in the utilities menu, or excuse me, in the settings menu. I reverted to EasyOne Connect terminology. So I'm going to click add patient. It's going to tell me a patient with the same first name, last name, and date of birth already exists. So I'm going to say okay, because I'm already in here. All right. So once you click okay, it's going to come in and display your patient. I'm going to go ahead and click on the patient. We do have the ability to come in one last time and confirm that all of the patient information is correct. We always want to double and triple check that all of our patient information is correct prior to starting the test. All right. So before we launch into the spirometry test, we're just going to do a little bit of spirometry 101, just because I do think that we have time for that. Okay. So to do our spirometry test, I do have an FVC test, or a forced vital capacity test, selected. This is an expiratory only maneuver. So what the patient is going to do is they're going to make a good tight seal on the mouthpiece. They're going to take a big, big deep breath in, and then they're going to immediately blast it out as hard and as fast as they can. They're going to keep blowing and keep blowing and keep blowing until the device tells them to stop. That point will be when they reach expiratory plateau, or where no more air is coming out of their lungs. Now, on our other devices, this is something that relies very heavily on the person conducting the test, your respiratory therapist, your nurse, your MA, your tech, whoever is performing the test. The wonderful thing about the EasyOne mobile app is we do have all of those instructions for you to be able to watch along with your patient. So all of that burden that is typically on the nurse, a lot of that gets to fall on the instructions that are built into the app. All right. Now, because I have my earbuds plugged into my computer, there are some audio cues that you guys will hear when you're doing this yourself. There's some music that plays during the instructions. And then once we launch into the actual test, there are some audio cues as well, telling the patient to take a deep breath, telling them to blast out, telling them to keep blowing. But again, just because of the digital setup here, you guys won't be able to hear that, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click New Test. I'm going to confirm that patient's date of birth. And then it's going to start by just making sure that my Sky is ready to, connected and ready to go. Okay, if you've happened and left it inactive for a while and it's turned off, it'll just ask you to power it back on with that hard key on the top quickly before you start the test. All right, it starts with a couple of things to know. Again, just assisting the nurse along, asking the patient, if you're experiencing any pain during the test, please stop immediately. Making sure that if they've had a recent surgery, any health issues, they're pregnant, or they're unsure if they can perform the test, just to talk with the doctor. All right. Once we hit continue, we get to come into our test instructions. And as you'll see, it walks us step by step through the test, starting with unpacking the flow tube, inserting it arrow to arrow into the spirometer, instructing the patient to sit up straight with their feet on the floor, and placing their nose clip. We want our patients to make a good tight seal on the mouthpiece. And then we want them to take a big, big deep breath in and blast it out as hard and as fast as they can. Keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing. And for the FVC maneuver, that is where we stop. But if you're doing the FVL, you would take that second deep breath in. All right. This video actually plays on a loop. And I'm sorry if I picked up my voice volume, because I am actually hearing the music in my ears. So I apologize if I'm talking louder than I was. But what I really do recommend is, if you are the nurse with this patient or the provider with this patient, really walking them through all of these steps, even with just the mouthpiece, so that they really do understand when you click continue and launch the test exactly what is expected of them. I even recommend our providers have a mouthpiece to show them exactly what to do during the maneuver. Anything that we can do between providing the visuals of Buddy to us kind of coaching them through the maneuver will just set them up for success. We know that they have to have a minimum of 3 acceptable and reproducible trials for the test to end. So we want to set them up for as few trials as possible to get to that point. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a test for you guys. So I'm going to click on continue and get started here. It's asking me if I'm using a filter for this test. I am not at this time, but the EasyOne Filter FT does work on this device. All right. You saw there that once I reached that point of expiratory plateau where no more air was coming out of my lungs, the trial did end automatically. All right. Between each trial, there is some information that we want to look at. We obviously want to look at our curves and our graphs, make sure that we do have that steep mountain peak from that blast out. We never want to make sure that we don't want hills and we don't want circles. We want it to be as forceful of a maneuver as possible. I always tell people this is not how we breathe at Walmart. Nobody breathes like this normally, but it is something that we really do have to teach our patients how to do. And, you know, I think with the videos, instructions, and the video guidance with Buddy, it really does make that visual and that instruction for our providers a lot easier. So here in the upper left-hand corner, you see our little stoplight smiley. And just like our other devices, the stoplight smileys give us feedback about how well the patient performed a test. Again, this is not telling us if the patient is sick or if they're healthy, but about the actual quality of the maneuver. And we can look at this in 2 different ways. We can look at the individual trials, and then we can look at the test quality overall. So right now, our stoplight smiley is very happy. And if we look over here at our trial acceptability, it's telling us that both our FVC, how much air the patient got out total, and our FEV1, how much the patient got out in the first second, both of those were acceptable. So this is a good quality acceptable test. When we look below this, we see our test quality, and it's saying that it's insufficient, which sometimes can be a little bit confusing. But remember, we have to have a minimum of 3 acceptable reproducible trials, and we only have 1. So our test quality will continue to go up in letter grade as we continue to add acceptable trials. All right, so this is kind of our snapshot of data that we get between every single trial. We can come down and get a little bit better look at our curves, and we can also view all of our test parameters between each trial as well. So again, right now we only have 1 trial, so of course those are all of our best values. But once we start adding trials, you will see them start to build trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, trial 4, right to the right of this best column. All right. So we talked about, yes, this trial is acceptable. I'm going to do one more really good trial for you guys, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what makes a trial acceptable. All right. So it's telling me I need to add another trial from my coaching bar up top. Add trial is on the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it's going to launch me back into another trial. All right, here we go. And again, there is a voice incentive that is also saying, keep going, blast out. All of those vocal cues are also happening through my headphones right now that you would be able to hear, which is great because they can see the participant and Buddy doing the test. They see the words telling them what to do, and they're also hearing those cues from the software as well, guiding them along, okay? So now we can see that trial 2 has populated. It's another happy face. We can look over and see that our individual trial acceptability is acceptable for both FEV1 and FVC, and our test quality, so looking at the entire session, has moved up to a B grade. So I have 2 acceptable trials, which has given me that B grade. If I look down here under results, now you can see I have my best column, trial 1, trial 2. All right. I'm going to pop back over to my slides for just a moment so that we can talk a little bit about what these stoplight smileys mean. So how are we coming up with what is an acceptable trial? So this is not NDD's idea of what an acceptable trial is. This does come directly from the ATS 2019 spirometry standards. And this is how we have chosen to represent that. So that happy face smiley is telling us that both the FEV1 and the FVC are acceptable, just like we saw in my example test. All right. If you have the yellow stoplight smiley, I always call him the meh smiley, that indicates that both parameters are at least usable, but they're both not acceptable. So again, it's something that you would want to interpret with caution when you see that yellow. The most common yellow smiley is when their FEV1 is acceptable, they blast out hard and fast in that first second of expiration, but then they don't make it all the way to FVC. They don't make it to that point of expiratory plateau, and they end the trial early before they're totally empty. So they end up with an acceptable FVC, or excuse me, an FEV1, and only a usable FVC because they weren't completely empty. Again, that's the most common yellow stoplight smiley, okay? And then our sad smiley, our red smiley, indicates at least one of those two parameters is not usable at all. All right, so how does that look on the screen? We already saw what a good trial looks like, but what is the software going to show us when we have a meh smiley or a sad face? So when we have that yellow smiley, so I did the exact example that I just told you guys about with the acceptable FEV1, usable FVC. The first thing it's going to do is the coaching bar is going to pop up and give us some tips. And I understand this is probably a little bit small for you guys, depending on your screen size that you're looking at. So I'll read it for you guys. On the tips, it says, this attempt was not quite sufficient. Exhale for longer until your lungs are completely empty. So giving the patient the feedback that they still had more air in their lungs, that we need them to completely blow out for this to be a successful maneuver. All right. After you click I understand on your tips, it's going to show you the screen on the right-hand side, showing you, just like I explained earlier, that FVC is only usable, but the FEV1 was acceptable. All right. What will you see on that sad face? Again, it's going to pop up with a coaching tip that's saying this attempt was not sufficient. You need to exhale for longer. If you can see this on here, I actually stopped exhaling before 1 second. So I wasn't even able to capture my FEV1 or my FVC. Anything that happens before that 1 second, if they have a cough, if they have a swallow, if they just take it out of their mouth and decide they're done, obviously anything before 1 second, neither parameter is going to be usable. And as you can see on the screen on the right-hand side, both are saying that they are not usable. All right, so how do we determine what is acceptable and what is not? Thankfully, ATS has given us some excellent guidelines. This first one, I always say it's really, really technical, this BEV, but this just talks about, we want them to blast out as hard and as fast as they can from the very, very start of the test, taking the biggest deep breath in possible and then blasting it out as hard and as fast as they can, making sure that there's no hesitation between that maximum breath in and the blast out. If you're doing the FVL maneuver where you take a second deep breath in, we also want to make sure that our blast out is the same volume as our breath in. Because if they don't match, we know that we probably didn't get to that point of expiratory plateau, and we'll have a little bit of a mismatch between our inspiratory and expiratory limb. Some other things that define acceptability criteria, an abrupt stop to the maneuver. This can be a glottic closure from posture. So many times when we tell patients to blast out as hard and as fast as they can, and they close off their airway by wadding themselves into a little ball. Abrupt stop also can be your patient goes and then just takes that out of their mouth. You might be laughing. It does happen. So whether it's a glottic closure, an abrupt stop, Again, when you switch over to your results screen and can see your graphs and curves, you can absolutely see your volume time curve flatline or your flow volume loop drop straight down. We have to make sure that this does not happen, especially within the first second of expiration. But again, we want them to make sure that they are continuing to blow. Our kind of correction for this, big blast, keep blowing, check your patient's posture throughout the entire maneuver. I think I skipped one. I did. There we go. So a cough happens. Again, we're asking a patient to blow out their air as hard and as fast as they can. A cough can happen, okay? We cannot have a cough before that first second of expiration, okay? If a cough happens after the first second, the patient can sometimes recover and continue to blast out and make it to that point of expiratory plateau. However, once a patient starts coughing, sometimes it can be difficult for them to recover, okay? So again, stopping the maneuver, letting the patient have a drink of water, trying again. Again, it can recover. Your patient might not be able to though, okay? But again, if the cough is within the first second, it's not going to count it as an acceptable maneuver anyway. All right, and last but not least here, extra breaths. Patients think they are very sneaky. They are not as sneaky as they think they are. Extra breaths, when we take a look at our graphs and our curves on our results screen, are very, very easy to see. Patients feel like they are out of breath long before they are out of breath. So we need them to understand this is one solid exhalation or one solid blast out. It's one breath. We need to make sure that they are pushing out until they are completely empty. Another thing that can help with this is the use of nose clips or having the patient plug their nose. Again, checking the seal on their mouthpiece, making sure that they're not sneaking in extra breaths also around the corners of their mouth. But again, a lot of times this is just a coaching thing. Once the patient starts to feel like they're running out of air, trying to sneak in those little extra breaths, you know, like you did when you were a kid and did a breath holding contest and tried to cheat and no one would notice. Same concept here. All right. We've talked a little bit about what makes a test acceptable, but the other half of how in the world do we finish this test is that test repeatable? So does one trial look like another, look like another? So again, the goal is to perform at least 3 acceptable, reproducible trials. So for adults, people over the age of 6, repeatability for FVC and FEV1 is reached when the difference between the 2 largest values is equal to or less than 0.15 liters. Now, thankfully, this is not something that you have to sit and calculate on your calculator yourself by going into your results and pulling those values. As you guys saw in the test over in the mobile app, that session quality, based on that session variability, it does calculate on its own. So watching that overall session quality move up to a letter A grade kind of takes the guesswork of, was this an acceptable and reproducible test session? All right, here is that grading scale. Again, if you wonder where these numbers come from, they do come directly from the ATS ERS spirometry standard. So for an example, like where we sit right now with the trial I was doing live, we have a B grade, which means we have 2 acceptable trials that are within that 0.15 liters of one another, okay? To get up to that A grade, though, I have to have 1 more, all right? So when you are looking at your PDF report, it does actually show the session quality and the session variability, so between the 2 largest FVC and FEV1s on the report itself. All right, let's hop back over to the EasyOne mobile app and finish up our test. All right, it timed out on me a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and do one more test for you guys. I'm going to skip through Buddy, even though he is adorable and we love him. We're going to go ahead and skip over to our test. All right, And because I love you all so much, I am going to go ahead and do a full test so that we can see what it looks like when it tells us the session is complete. Typically, you don't stop mid-spirometry session to give a lecture on acceptable spirometry. So don't worry about your app timing out. All right, here we go. All right, and one more. All right. All right. It's telling me you did it. The test session is complete. So you'll see over on the left-hand side that I have 3 happy smiley faces. Over on the right-hand side, I have an acceptable trial for trial 3. And down below on my overall test quality, I have a letter A grade. All right. So at this point, I can go back in and view all of my curves or all of my results. But since I have this A grade, I am comfortable to end the test. All right. When we end the test, it brings us to this test summary. Again, it's showing us our session quality at the top, showing that we have an overall session quality of an A for both our FEV1 and FVC. We can go back in and review all of our curves from each of our trials. We can also look at our results. Again, it is going to populate our best results first. And we can also individually click on the individual trials. And then we have the system interpretation. And it is saying for my pre-bronchodilator test that I have a mild obstruction, which is accurate because I am asthmatic. All right. And again, just like on our other software, if you go back into this patient's chart, it's going to ask you why. And one of those options is to perform post-bronchodilator spirometry. So we do our pre-testing, we administer a bronchodilator, we wait 15 minutes, no more than 30, and then we do the exact same test again. So for post-bronchodilator, same rules apply as pre. It's still a minimum of 3 acceptable reproducible trials. We want to continue to add trials until we get the message saying the session is complete. All right. From here, we can directly add the post-test here if your workflow allows it. But again, if we go back into that same patient, it's going to ask us, are we wanting to start a new test or add a post? All right. If we are connected to our EMR, the process looks a little bit different, but we can close out our test to go back to our home page or activities page. Or what most of us will be doing at the start is downloading that PDF report. Okay. So when we download the PDF report, we'll be able to pull that up and take a look at it. All right, give me just a moment. Again, my screen sharing has been a little bit problematic today, but I want to pull this report up so that you guys can see it. All right, here we go. Let's go here. All right, so you guys can now see the PDF report. So again, very similar to the reports on our other devices. It's showing facility information on top, patient information, test information, the test time and date, what interpretation, what predicted set, are we using a filter, looking at the different parameters that we have selected, starting with the best column, the lower limit of normal, the z-score, percent predicted, and then our 3 best trials. Below that, we'll have that session quality with the variability between those 2 largest FVC and FEV1. The system interpretation of a mild obstruction. There it is right there, that mild obstruction. There's our z-score graph. And then below that, we do have our trial 1, 2, 3 charted here, as well as our volume time curve on that second page. All right. And again, I do spirometry all day long, every day. So my trials all look pretty identical. You'll be able to see probably a little bit more variability with your patients though. All right. All right. Let me minimize that there really quickly. And I think that that is it for slides. And that is kind of covering everything within kind of the walkthrough of the mobile app. We got to walk through some tests. You guys were able to see some of the error messages that come along with those yellow and red stoplight smileys. So I was kind of worried about getting through everything in the hour time slot that we have, but it looks like we're going to have plenty of time for some questions and most likely be able to get out of here a few minutes early. So guys, Aglaya and Joy Bianca, whoever's going to be helping me out with questions, if you guys want to pop on, we can get started with some question and answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. We've
Yeah.
actually been able to answer a lot of the questions via the chat and questions bar, so I actually don't see anything else.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I just saw the question thingy light up, so I'll give it like 5 seconds as I'm thanking you guys for
Yeah,
joining
we
us.
actually do have a question about iOS availability.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yep, we do have a question regarding iOS availability.
I mean, I'm going to let Aglias speak to the specific of that. I think we are still looking at 2025, but I'm going to let Aglia speak to kind of a more specific timeline there.
Exactly. Hi, everyone. So yes, for now, Windows is the operating system that we roll out first. But as soon as we have everything in place for Windows, we will definitely go for Android and iOS, hopefully next year, depending on how much work we will have to do on the Windows first. But yeah, it's coming soon, hopefully.
Yes, coming. We're so excited about that, guys. So, all right, I think I saw it light up again. So maybe they're
Yes,
coming
we
in
have
now.
another one here. Do you plan to roll out a complete PFT option?
So say that, just say it one more time. I'm sorry. I want to
Sure.
make sure
Are
I
there
understood.
plans to roll out a complete PFT option?
So for this device, again, on the launch of this, it is really, really targeted for that first tier care, that primary care doctor. Really, really kind of trying to lower that hurdle so that first tier care can make appropriate diagnosis earlier than they are now. And we know that that hurdle, the more options we throw, the more overwhelming that is for those primary care providers. So the short answer is complete PFT on the Sky. No, a more complete spirometer, as in more features, more predicted sets, more interpretations, more tests available. Yes, this will eventually grow out to be able to perform the same functions as our other spirometers, such as SVCs, MVVs, more complicated spirometry tests. As far as full PFT goes, when we're talking about DLCO, when we're talking about lung volumes, EasyOne Pro and Pro Lab are still the NDD solutions for complete PFT.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. We have some rolling in now, so I have a couple more. Somebody is asking about the compatibility of the test reports with EasyOne Connect on the new app.
Okay, so right now, the mobile app and EasyOne Connect, they don't talk to each other right now. So they both can produce a PDF report. So if you're if you have multiple devices, I'm trying to kind of imagine some scenarios here. If you are using, let's say, the EasyOne PC with EasyOne Connect, and you want to test the same patient 6 months later on the Sky, you would have to enter that patient onto the Sky, and you wouldn't, those two reports wouldn't be able to talk. However, they both can export to a PDF, or if both are fully integrated with EMR, that might be a different situation. Aglaya, do you have any input on that?
No, you said it correctly, yes.
Okay.
But via EMR, of course, if the EMR is integrated to both devices, then it will talk over the EMR, of course, but not directly.
Excellent.
For now. Also
Right.
here, some future work to do.
Yes. Eventually, I hope they will all talk and it'll be great.
Exactly.
Awesome, perfect. Another question here about downloading the new EasyOne mobile app on multiple PCs.
Yes, so just like with EasyOne Connect, we don't have like individual install licenses. It can be installed on as many devices as you need them to. Again, setting up user accounts that really can, setting up individual users, you can work with your NDD representative once they're doing your onboarding, because while you can set up individual users, grouping them as an organization is done on our cloud administration side. But again, once all of those devices are grouped as an organization, computer ABCD would be able to see all of the same information.
And maybe to add there,
Yeah.
sorry, Jamie, that
No,
if you
go ahead.
use kind of the same, or if you as a user want to log into the app, but on different laptops or PCs or whatever, you can do that, and you will have the same data on laptop A, but also on laptop B.
Great.
All right, awesome, thank you. A couple more here. Somebody is asking if our app is available in Google Play Store and does it work with Chromebooks?
I will let Aglaya answer that one. I know it's available on our website. It is available on our
Yep.
website, guys, to download the app. But as far as Play Store availability, I'm not sure.
No, also no for the Google Play Store. It is available only via our website because it's more like a software than an actual app that you would call it on Windows. We called it EasyOne Mobile App because we were already planning to go for the other apps as well for Android and iOS. So it's called EasyOne Mobile App, but for Windows, it's more like a software that you can download from our website.
All righty, awesome. I have another one here regarding tests being merged into a patient profile and asking about trending over time with the software.
So as of right now, this initial release of the Windows app is pretty limited function. And trending is one of those functions that within the Windows app, it's not available now. It is a feature that obviously we know is important because it's popular in EasyOne Connect. But on this initial release, it does not have the trending feature. It is something that's in the pipeline for future updates on the app. As far as merging patients, again, like you guys saw, when I tried to enter myself as a patient a second time in my app, I'm already in there. So it gave me a warning that I was already in there and would not let me duplicate myself. It would almost, like, and Aglaya, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that you would run into the issue of needing to merge patients within the mobile app.
Yes, so as long as you are connected to the cloud, this will not be a problem that you run into because the app will notice. The thing can happen that when you are testing offline, you cannot download all the data before from the cloud. So maybe the mobile app doesn't know that you already had a patient because it's still in the cloud and not on your mobile app, because you're offline. Then it can happen that you have two patients that are exactly the same. And also here, this is something that we are working on right now, that you can bring them together afterwards. But for the first version of the app that is out now, this is not possible. So you will have two patients with the same identity.
Alrighty, a few more questions rolling in. A few people are asking about the testing offline and if we need to be online to select the patient.
So this is very good question, a little bit tricky to answer. You will have your patients local for some time until it gets uploaded, and otherwise, as long as it isn't uploaded yet to the cloud. So you have your patient data local on your computer for some time. And that means as long as you are offline and it isn't synchronized, you will always be able to have all the data that you collected and all the patients that you have entered there to select and do a test offline. Also here, when you are online, all the patient data and everything goes up, is synchronized. You go offline for a while and then want to start a test. Then it might happen that you have to enter the patient again because it is not able to download all the data that is needed from the cloud.
Okay,
I hope
perfect.
this answered the question. Otherwise, let me know.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, I think that's all that we have for today, Jamie and Aglaya. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and guys, if this is your first time attending a webinar, I do get to see even the questions that they were able to type out answers for during the webinar. I do get to see all of those afterwards. So some of these questions that came in at the end that are a little bit more specific about data situations that Aglaya was able to help with, I can also get myself and her in touch with you after the webinar as well with the email contact that you signed up for the webinar with. So we'll be able to keep in touch. And of course, you guys will get, you'll kind of get the recording and the summary tomorrow that does have my contact information as well. So if there are additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. I can get you in touch with your regional director, with your MedTech MedCare rep, if you're here in the States. If it's a more technical question, I can get you guys in touch with Aglaya if this is something that you guys are looking to add to your practice. Again, we're really excited about this product here at NDD. And again, this is a phase 1. So again, like I told everybody who is not in the US who's on the call not to leave yet. Same thing for you guys, that if you're like, oh, this doesn't really fit my needs right now, you might be right. You know, we really did focus on the primary care market for this initial launch, knowing that in the future, this platform makes it easy for us to add those features that other specialties will need down the line. So thank you so much for joining us for this special kind of product spotlight introduction training, kind of all of the above. We will be doing an in-depth product training. January, we'll be back to the Sky, starting 2025 off with another. The January live training will also be focused on the Sky. So hop back on in January if you guys are still interested and still maybe have questions, but feel free to reach out at any time. You know, our website has 24/7. We've got live chat. We have our tech support internationally is fantastic. We want to help you guys out, and you know, we want Sky to be a success, not only for us but for your practice as well. Really lowering that hurdle, because at the end of the day, guys, that's what it's really about. We want patients to get that diagnosis sooner so that they can get on the road to recovery and just a higher quality of life sooner than they a lot of traditionally do now. If you joined our webinar back in November talking about COPD and how long and how difficult it is for patients to get diagnosed, I mean, guys, that was the mission behind Sky, is lowering that hurdle so that more first level care is doing these tests and identifying these patients to get them the help that they need. So thank you so much for joining us. Please reach out if you have any questions. Again, the EasyOne Sky is available now for sale in the US. We would love to talk to you about it if it's a good fit. And join us again next month for live training again on the Sky in January. The full live training schedule for 2025 on all of our devices is set. We have some other fun educational webinars that we're going to be throwing into the mix next year as well. We hope that you join us. I hope that you have an amazing holiday, and we will see you in 2025. Thank you, guys.